Councillors, we're about to go live. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the June 2025 committee meeting of the Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the June 2025 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 5:31. Councillor Wells will now deliver acknowledgement. Welcome to country.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land that we meet today. I acknowledge the Tubbergar people of the Wiradjuri Nation and also other clans of the area. I'd also like to acknowledge or pay respect to elders past, present and of the Wiradjuri Nation, extend that respect to other Aboriginal people and other non-First Nations people in the room today. I'd also want to share an acknowledgement to a recently passed elder, Uncle Ray Peckham, who lived to the wonderful age of 96 and passed away last Friday, and hope that people can take away the thoughts and the life that he had shared with our community around the strong activist nature that he had as a strong First Nations man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wells. Just moving on to IPC 25/33, leave of absence. I have requests for leave of absence from Councillors S. Chowdhury and M. Dickerson. Can I have a councillor to move? Councillor Ivey, and second, Councillor Richardson. I now put the motion to electronic voting. We've got to open this one. Enter meeting. Start voting. All right, if you could cast your votes, please, electronically. I'll now close the voting. How do we close again, please, sir? That one, thank you. Yep. Voting. Yeah, okay. So, I declare the motion carried. We move on to IPC 25/34, conflicts of interest. Is there anyone who'd like to declare a conflict of interest at all? There being none, move along to IPEC 25/35, the report of the Renewable Energy Zone Benefit Committee meeting the 12th of May 2025. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Ivey, and seconder, Councillor Toynton. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further debate? We can now put the motion. Electronic voting is open. And we declare the motion carried. Okay. Moving on to IPC 25/36, the development activity summary. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Black. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Richardson. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thanks.
Any further debate? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions actually with respect to the council league table. Obviously, there's been a couple of fantastic DAs that have just rolled through, a couple of large ones. I just want to, I've had some questions regarding that league table. One of them was around whether the council sets their own parameters to make ourselves look good, which is why we continue to appear at number one. So maybe who sets that? But secondly, what are the impact of those couple of large DAs? I think there's a comment in that report which mentions that maybe our average day assessment days or our lodgement days may blow out as a result of those final couple of large DAs passing through. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
To the CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, who sets the days and the like? So, council has no input into any of the information that's included in the Development Assessment League table. It's an assessment that's undertaken by the State Government Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure. There's also in that table, and each council has its own set of criteria which we need to work towards as well, based on what our current scores are. So, it's not a council set item, it's a state government set item across every council in New South Wales in that regard. From that as well, there's a development application moving through the system tonight, which is a 631 lot DA for subdivision at South Lakes Estate in southeast Dubbo. It's been an application that's been with council over an extended period of time due to its complexity and a range of planning issues and considerations. It will hopefully move through the system, and in saying that as well, it will impact council's league table figures and the like. Also in the report, there's a couple of other examples there. The recent Western Regional Planning panel approval of the club, the registered club at the Keswick Estate. So it was outside of our assessment period there, the 52 days. It's in the latest update. But they are complex DAs, and they do take some time to work through various issues. So when council does look at development applications, it's a range of course, up to things like the 631 lot subdivision, and then through to the more simple things, your carports, your fences, dwellings and the like as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Any further debate, councillors? No, there being none, we'll put it to the vote. Now close the voting, declaring it carried unanimously. Item IPC 25/37, Planning Proposal Policy Review. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Kelly. And a seconder, please. Councillor Ryan. Thank you. Councillor Cowling, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further debate? No, there being none, we put it to the vote. And close the voting and declare it carried unanimously. Oh, no, good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to IPC 2538, the D22-210- subdivision bracket 631 allotments. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Wright, and seconder, Councillor Wells. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Great to see this one coming through. Obviously, a lot of confidence in Dubbo for an investment of this size. Certainly going to meet a level of demand that we're experiencing. It was a question I had, though, with respect to page 45 around, it's called Element 5 landscaping, but it does make reference to the fact that no additional public open space was identified as part of this development area. Makes it suggested as makes use of drainage reserves and some other already pre-established areas for open space. But it just seems like a 611 lot subdivision with no additional public open space just seems like a lot of housing and not a lot of open space. Just wonder if you might be able to get a bit of comment on that from one of the staff.
Oh, yeah, to the CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor Wright. Council's policy setting around the provision of open space and in terms of the quantum of open space is a strategic open space master plan. Council's open space master plan doesn't require or list any requirement for further playing fields or the like in that southeast area of Dubbo, including the South Lakes estate. The development proponent's currently working through with our open space area the planning and delivery of a playground within the estate. So the that planning for that is well advanced and hopefully looking at delivery soon as well. In addition, Council's policy setting through the Open Space Master Plan looks at the drainage reserves and the open space connections that are within the estate to bring people around to the Tracker-Riley cycleway and walking system as well. And then also the proponents will be looking at how some of the drainage reserves within the 631 lot development application can have that dual use as well for open space.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Is there any further debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment, really. It's interesting, as Councillor Wright said, it's an enormously important development for the area and it's got implications, but yet, so the development application goes on public exhibition and we don't get any single, not one, submission from the public. Is that surprising or is that part of the normal?
To you, the CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Surprising, it's given that this is part of basically the South Lakes Estate Master Plan, which the proponent has been sort of very clear in articulating through their marketing and the like as well. I'd probably say potentially not, but it's hard to judge in respect of public interest in matters as well. But yeah, with this item, yeah, there wasn't a lot of public interest.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Yes, Councillor Black.
Oh, thank you. Look, along the lines of Councillor Wright, looking at the plans, no one could accuse the developer there of having too much open space or too many parks or too many playgrounds. I'd just like to make that point there, and people in the community might say that later on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Black. Any further debate, councillors? There being none, Councillor Wright, would you like to reply to your motion?
No,
write a
thank you.
reply?
No, thanks, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, then I'll start putting that to the vote. If you cast your votes. Close the voting. And carried unanimously. The next item is IPC 25/39, Forest Glen Solar Farm, Community Housing Fund Guidelines. Do I have a motion? Councillor Black, second by Councillor Wright. Thank you. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
No, it's all right. Thanks.
Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I note where I just can't find it where the proponent or the as part of the contribution to the community will give $200,000 per year for 5 years for community housing, and I was just wondering if through you, Mr. Chair, someone could explain to me the difference between community housing and public housing.
To the CEO.
I'll throw to Ms. Smart.
So community housing is owned and managed by not-for-profit organisations, and then social housing is owned and managed by government organisations. So CHBs can be social housing providers, but not the other way around. So community housing is to catch the people that end up falling out of the private rental market because of market influences such as workers' accommodation. So, you know, workers move in and they flood the market, flood the tenancy markets and take those rental options away, and gives the people that fall out of that market an option there for housing.
Yes, Councillor Ivey.
Just a follow-up question from that then. So it's envisaged in this case that the development will be undertaken by, or the community housing will be undertaken by private developers, but with them following a particular set of guidelines, if you like. Is that how it works?
So the community housing is a very regulated market, so it's not just a developer per se. So you have to be in a there's a whole regulatory process to be considered a community housing provider, and that's what this is open to, as opposed to any developer who wants to start turning a profit. It's very regulated. Indeed, the Australian government has new policy settings around community housing provision. So it's not as simple as saying a developer could take advantage of it. There will be only certain players in our housing market that could participate in this. There may be others from other local government areas that want to expand, because it would seem to be a growing opportunity to protect people from the negative influences of market rentals, if that makes sense. So it is a growing sector, but it's not as simple as saying a developer can take advantage of this proposal.
And any further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll put to the vote. And closing the voting, and declared carried unanimously. The next item for consideration in the Infrastructure Plan Environment Committee is deemed to be, by the Chief Executive Officer, to be confidential. Can I now have someone move to defer item IPEC 25/40-CD25-3031, tender for external plant hire, light vehicles, plant and equipment, to be dealt with at the end of the Corporate Services Committee in the confidential session. Thank you, Councillor Ryan, and seconded Councillor Wells. Councillor Ryan, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll open the electronic voting. And close the voting. And declare it carried unanimously. Oh, yeah. As there are no further items, I declare the Infrastructure Planning Environment Committee closed, the time being 5:48 p.m.
I now open the June 2025 Culture and Community Committee, meeting time being at 5:49 p.m. I request for leave of absence from Councillors Chowdhury and Dickerson. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Black, and seconded by Councillor Cowley. I now put the motion to electronic voting. Please vote. How do I close it?
The little ballot box.
Okay. I declare that motion carried unanimously. Oh, sorry. Yep. Does anyone have any conflicts of interests? Are there any conflicts of interest? As there are none, I will continue. CCC 25/23, the report of the Multicultural Advisory Committee, meeting held on the 1st of May. Do I have someone to move a motion, please? Councillor Wright, and a seconder, Councillor Black. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, initial meeting of that particular committee, so not a lot of substance to that one, but it's certainly well attended, and I think we've got a very energetic and keen committee to take that one forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or debate? As there are none, I will commence the voting. I declare that carried. CCC 25/24, report of the Youth Council, meeting held on the 6th of May 2025. Do I have someone to move the motion, please? Councillor Cowley, and seconded by Councillor, Twinton. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Cowley?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's all fairly self-explanatory.
Are there any other comments or debate? As there are none, I'll put it to voting. I declare the motion carried unanimously. The CCC 25/25. Thought I just did that one. Nope. Might have said something wrong. It's the review of the public trees removal amenity valuation policy. Do I have someone to move a motion, please? Councillor Black and Councillor Wright. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
Only very quickly. It's a good policy, and it helps to ensure that we retain canopy trees and important trees around town by putting a value on them. Thank you.
Thank you. And throwing to the CEO.
And if I could, councillors, I'll ask the manager in charge of this policy, putting this policy before you, just give a quick explainer about a bit of background and also what changes there are and how it works in practice. Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The intent of the policy is to ensure that we can actually protect our public trees, and we do that by demonstrating and assigning a value through to the trees through a recognised format. The format was recognised in America, and the value of the trees are actually determined by the Council of Tree and Landscape Appraisers. That's in America. In Australia, the City of Melbourne has taken the lead on developing the annual increase in the value. And as I said, it's one of the mechanisms that we can use to protect our trees. And it doesn't mean that a tree can't be removed, but what it does is inform the public about what the value of the tree is. And also for our developers, for example, it encourages them to look at other options. For example, they could underbore trees rather than remove them. They could reroute a service, again, instead of removing them. So it's just a very useful way of helping to inform the public what the value of a tree is. And to date, it's been extremely successful, where we've saved probably or retained probably 70 odd trees through the implementation of this policy since it was introduced in September 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Callister. And a question from Councillor Cowley.
Yes, just through you, Madam Chair. Could we have an explanation of what the difference is, what the upgrade to this policy means?
Mr. McAllister.
So the revision of the policy does a couple of things. It where we have situations where there is quite a contentious tree removal, for example. In the past, even if a developer was prepared or a resident was prepared to remove the tree, council didn't have the option of saying, no, we want to retain the tree. So that's probably the main change in the policy, where we now actually have introduced a number of different approval levels at manager level, director level. If it's a really contentious issue or a very significant tree, a report will then be generated, which will go to council, and then council will also have the opportunity to make a determination on whether that tree is retained or removed.
Thank you, Mr. Callister. Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, just a follow-on question from that too. So that when we put a value on the tree, obviously here in this environment, perhaps shade or aesthetic value of a mature tree may be higher than it could be in another area, say in the Southern Highlands. Is that reflective in our valuation of trees? Do we have a different component for instance, the shade value of a tree here than in another area where perhaps shade is not so important?
To the CEO.
Mr. McAllister.
Through the chair, not directly. What the formula determines, the initial determination is based on the diameter at breast height of what the diameter is. That gives us a base level figure, and then it's things like locality, whether it's in a residential street, whether it's in a CBD street, whether it's in a village. They all have different levels of multiplication. So some are positive, some are negatives. Whether it's a weedy species, whether it's a normal status tree, again, has a positive or negative effect on that value, as well as the overall health and well-being of the tree as well. So if it's got a well-developed and even canopy, it scores higher than, say, one that has been, lopped or is uneven. That has a lower value assigned to it. And then at the end of that process, which is done by an arborist, it provides a dollar figure for that tree. So shade itself is associated with the canopy, but it's not a direct consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Callister. Are there any further questions or comments? Is there none? I'll put it to a vote. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. Got to go back to the... No? Okay. You're good. Thank you. All right. Declare that carried unanimously. CCC 25/26 Crown Lands of Management, Dubbo Riverside Reserves. Do I have someone to move a motion, please? Councillor Black, and seconded by Councillor... Sorry. My apologies. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
Oh, very good report. Thank you. And well worthwhile for people to have a read of how the Riverside reserves are managed and going to be managed and have input into that. Thanks.
Thank you. Do I have any further comments or questions? As there are none, I will refer back to the mover. Do you have any, would you like a right of reply to your own? Thank you. I'll start the voting. Please vote. I declare that carried. Okay, right. CCC 25/27, the Dubbo Aquatic Leisure Centre indoor facility. I understand we have an alternate motion. Councillor Black.
Thank you. The alternate motion is that this item be deferred to the June 2025 Ordinary Council meeting.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Toyton. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. Just that, look, Councillor Chowdhury's been one of the main drivers of this for the last couple of years, and he's unable to be here tonight, so it's only fair that we hang on 2 weeks until Councillor Chowdhury's hopefully back with us, and we'll deal with it then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. I'll put that to a vote. And declare that carried unanimously. We move on to CCC 25/28. Did I do 27? Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. Dubbo Regional Sports Council Playing Field Improvement Fund. Do I have person to move? Councillor Cowley, and a seconder, please. Councillor Black. Councillor Cowley, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. As there are none, I will open the voting. Hmm. Mhm. I declare that carried unanimously. As there are no further items, I declare the Culture and Community Committee closed, time being 6:01 p.m, not a.m. Trying to get through them without making mistakes.
I now open the June 2025 Corporate Services Committee meeting, the time being 6:02 p.m. I have requests for leave of absence from Councillors S. Chowdhury and M. Dickerson. Do I have a mover? Councillor Black, and a seconder, Councillor Wells. I'll now put the motion to the vote. Huh? Oh. I'll now close the voting, and the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/35, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Moving on. Item CSC 25/36, report of the Villagers Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 25. Do I have a motion? Councillor Toynton, and a seconder, Councillor Black. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's still early days with the Villagers Committee, so we haven't had much stuff brought forward at this stage, but early days.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll now stop the vote, and the motion's been passed unanimously. It was just me. Hit the wrong button. Sorry. Item CSC 25/37, report of the Wellington Town Committee meeting held the 21st of May 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Ivey, seconded Councillor Ryan. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a very robust and interactive committee. I think there's a good vibe amongst the people there. They really want to make a contribution towards the betterment of Wellington via the council, and I think that's echoed a little bit too with some of these submissions that council received in respect of Wellington the old Wellington LGA area. And I think the challenge, and it'll be, I think, fairly easy to do and productive to do, is to really channel that enthusiasm and really make it productive, working towards the betterment of our region. Thank you.
Any further debate? Being none, I'll put the motion to the vote. Hasn't come through. No. Thank you. I'll now stop the voting. And the motion's been passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/38, draft 2025 budget, operational plan and associated documents, the results of the public exhibition. Do I have a mover? Councillor Black, and a seconder? Councillor Toynton. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
Oh, look, thanks to all the people that made submissions. They've all been read and considered by council, and we had a workshop on it. And unfortunately, we don't have a magic pudding of money, so we've had to make some tough decisions as a council. And we're still 2 weeks. There still could be some changes yet. So councillors will still be thinking and digesting that for the next fortnight. Thank you.
Any further debate? Councillor Butler?
Yeah. So I was just approached by a number of residents who are getting somewhat fatigued in regards to putting in submissions regarding the Cameron toilets, Cameron Park toilets. I was just been maybe, this is more of a general comment or a question, I don't know, but just asking our fellow councillors if they can help to think of a way that we could maybe find some funding in the budget that would expedite this. And the reason I mention it is because it has been ongoing for many years now, and certainly the people I've been speaking to are sort of starting to lose a bit of hope. You know what I mean? They're just they're feeling that their submissions have no effect, and that every time that it comes up, they keep making a submission and then it keeps getting ignored, and the council keeps saying, "Oh, you know, maybe next time," or maybe not. But obviously that would then need to find somewhere in the budget to pull that fund from, because as has been said, can do anything but not everything. So what I was hoping is to ask fellow councillors if there was to assist in helping to see if there is a spot in the budget somewhere. I believe the amenities are something along the $250,000 mark. Is that a question I could ask to the relevant director?
To the CEO?
Yeah.
Yeah, to answer some of the queries around that question as well, I'll get Mr. Arms to give some context around the public toiling and the planning, because there are a number, and indeed previous discussions of the community, you know, cemeteries, for example, have been higher up the priority in both Dubbo and Wellington. But I'll get Mr. Arms, the relevant director, to talk you through that. Mr. Arms.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Yep, so $250,000 is a budgeted amount for an additional facility around the same size as the existing one, effectively double the existing seats available. We're also working on a broader public toilet strategy across the LGA, which there are around 17 identified public toilets. Out of interest, to bring those 17 public toilets to a level 1 condition would require around a budget of around $3 million. So the cohort of public toilets itself is quite a challenging sort of set of assets to manage. But we're also generating evidence of usage for the Cameron Park toilets. So how many individuals are using it per unit of time across a span of time, and we're gradually developing a story there to assist councillors making a further decision. But fundamentally, the amount of money to spend on a additional public toilet facility at Cameron Park would be commensurate with the size that you want it to go to. A $250 unit, prefabricated unit, is what would recommend at this point.
Yes, thank you. I just was just wanting to know the approximate value and the perhaps like I said the timing of it. Perhaps I was hoping to if there was a possibility of expediting it, as I think it is a important facility that has been, how would you call it, delayed to some extent, and yeah, would like to see that finally come to fruition. Thank you.
Any further debate? Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, just to echo what Councillor Butler's saying, I think it's a bit of a catch-22 at the moment, as you know, we can look at the priorities of the public toilets that we do look after, and as you say, we are looking at the use that Cameron Park toilets are, how much they're being used, but I think they're not being used as much because of the lack of. So I think if there was, adequate toilets there would be a lot more usage, if that makes sense.
Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll now stop the voting. Motion's been carried unanimously. The next items for consideration are deemed to be confidential. Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next items being item IPEC 25/40 and CSC 25/39 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of Council. Can I now have someone move us into a confidential session to deal with the confidential matters? Councillor Butler, and seconded Councillor Cowley. We've had no applications for members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. I will now open the electronic voting. I'll now close the voting. Motion's been carried unanimously. I declare the motion carried and we will move into closed session, the time being 6:13 p.m. The streaming will now be turned off and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters with the resolutions to be made public. Please stop the web streaming. The committees return to open session at 6:25 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Governance Officer to play the resolutions from the confidential session. There are no further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee. I declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:26 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed, and thank you for your attendance.